we ask you all to kindly rise?
Today we come together to remember a very grievous time in the history of mankind, a time in our Jewish history that saw the murder of 6 million Jewish lives. This blight of hatred scorched the earth in ways that we can never forget. Today is about never forgetting and never allowing blind hatred and persecution to exist among us again. Dear survivors of the Holocaust, children of the Kindertransport, survivors of the meanest, ugliest places that man has ever created, know this: we will never again stand silent.
And welcome all of you to Beth Ami this afternoon. And we're very pleased that you're able to join with us on this very, very special occasion. Friends, there are many out there who have still openly described the Holocaust as a myth, bigots who have tried to revise history by calling the Holocaust a hoax, and people drowning in apathy who have turned away from any discussion about the Holocaust because it's too dark, it's too negative, or it's too painful to acknowledge. Folks, what gives meaning and purpose to those who gather to recall the Holocaust today is not only remembering the Holocaust, but responding to what we remember. We must find positive ways to respond to the horrors of the Holocaust by openly confronting the tactics of fundamentalist terrorists, even today, who seek to destroy America and who seek to destroy Israel. We must find a way to use the memory of the Holocaust to further our dreams for the future. Today, we gather as a community to observe Yom Hashoah, a day devoted to remembering the 6 million men, women, and children who perished in the hands of the Nazis, Yimach Shemam, and their collaborators. And we who live in the extended shadow of the darkest hour of Jewish, if not all human history, know well our obligation to remember, to bear witness, and to live up to the commitment of never again. All the more so in these decades, witnessing the passing of the survivor generation. We know the atrocities that humanity is capable of inflicting. We know what it means to sit helpless in the world. And as the world watches, as we stand nervously vigilant, lest the ancient hatred of anti-Semitism rear its ugly head.
Our shattered lives were filled with dreams of joy. All of us who were lost little girls and boys, and though we know we're scattered across the earth, we long to meet, to dance and sing and laugh. We are the children of an era. We are the witnesses of time. We'll never be a silent and voiceless chapter. We'll fill our world with sounds of joy and laughter, and speak for them, and sing for them. The list goes on and on and on.
All those present here, he is the president of Child Survivors and Hidden Children, a well-known gentleman, a gentleman, and a gentleman who's been honored by many, many people, government included. It's an honor and privilege to have you with us.
Thank you, Rabbi, very much. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge two people who made all this here possible. Our dear friends, and Ashes Heil, Nancy, and Ish Gabor, Richard Boyman. Thanks to them, we're here for so many years. They extended, they opened up the place for us. And unfortunately, there are always less and less in attendance, but we thank you so much Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. This day is dedicated to remember our murdered families, our destroyed people. It is a day of sorrow, mourning, and tears. But it also is a day that we must remember the bravery of those who resisted in every way possible and leave a legacy of heroism. I saw these heroes personally in the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. As a small child, with burning eyes from the smoke, with trembling hearts, I witnessed. We did not go to slaughter like sheep. We must take pride that we, the remnant Jews of Europe, have been able to rebuild not only our lives and families, but also to create a nation of Eretz Israel. This is our 12th year that we have been welcomed here with kindness and understanding by you, the members of this synagogue, Beth Ami. Each year, I try to find words that might heal, but there's no medicine that can heal this kind of wounds that we and the Jewish people have suffered. Each year, my words of comfort at that of the Shoah is not forgotten ever. How can we forget this evil history? 6 million treasures of our people were destroyed with cruelty and suffering. As we learn of each of your survival stories, we also learn about the evil, how our families were murdered. I cannot find words to bring you some comfort. It is difficult to express or to heal. We, the Jewish people, must find strength and keep living our lives with dignity and make sure that the land of Israel, Eretz Israel, remains strong and safe. That is our reward. Dear friends and members of Beth Ami, we are grateful to you that you shared this grief-stricken time with us, to know that you care and that you will not forget is healing. Together, we will remember our dear ones, our people, and Israel High.
Once again, beautifully done. And now invite Frida Jaffe. It's an honor and privilege to have her with us again this year, who is Vice President of Child Survivors and Hidden Children, who would like to address you.
Bruchim habayim. You've heard it before, you're going to hear it again. Welcome to all of you on behalf of our organization, the Child Survivors Hidden Children of the Holocaust of Palm Beach County. I do welcome every one of you this afternoon to our Yom Hashoah program. We're very honored to share this special and meaningful day with all of you. We are united in the task of Zachor. The candles have a special glow, and we feel a certain peace and comfort being together in this house of worship. And though Norman has done it and other people will follow me, I still want to thank Beth Ami congregation, the rabbi, the cantor, your board of directors, your president, officers, staff. For years, you've welcomed our organization by giving us a special voice right here, a voice which takes on a meaningful and sacred sound for us, children of the Shoah. And most especially, I want to take this opportunity to say on behalf of our organization
and it's a little bit of a personal thing too, to take this opportunity to say from the heart a most special thank you to Nancy and Richard Boyman. You have supported us, you have inspired us, and you have proved to us that Holocaust awareness and education was indeed our mission, and to some degree, even our responsibility. You have helped us in more ways than we can state here, but please know that we honor you, we appreciate you, and most of all, we love you, your dedication, and your passion. Thank you. Today we're gathered here to Zachor, with words of remembrance, with music and poetry. Thank you, Judy. And most especially, we remember the 1.5 million children so brutally and mercilessly slaughtered by the Nazis and their collaborators throughout Europe. The memory of our families is painful and unfortunately everlasting. And yet, imagine that, though this is a day of commemoration, it is also a day of celebration. How is that possible? This year, it is possible. Although we come together to remember, we also come together to celebrate the fact, as Rabbi Hashoah said, that in coming days, we will rejoice in the celebration of Israel's 70th birthday as a Jewish state. Israel is 70 years old. May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion declared to the world that, and I quote, "The Jewish state is henceforth to be called Israel." What a joy. Oh, the tears and the horror and the dancing that went on. But we well know the cost to this fragile and chutzpahdik nation to actually create and uphold this new state, not only through 4 major wars, lack of fighters and weapons and equipment, but yet, and still, we now know what this newly declared Jewish land represented to our Shoah survivors. They who were just coming back to some kind of life in displaced persons camps with no place to call home, and who, as of 1948, now could hope to, yes, mir gayen aheim, we're going home, one that they were willing to give up their fragile lives for, to help the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, establish a place to call home. And so they learned to fight, and many died, and some left to find safety in a few other countries, but many stayed in their new land, in Israel. And because of these wars, struggles, fears, and sacrifices, we, the surviving children of the Shoah, we are here today. Anachnu po. We are still here. And so we remember and we celebrate, and for the rest of our lives, until our final breath, we will remember the children. Shalom.
We're now going to hear from Mary Eckstein. It's an honor and privilege to have her with us. She has an interesting and most fulfilling history. She's a child survivor, a hidden child, and she would like to share a few thoughts with us.
I was in 2nd grade when the Germans occupied Hungary, March 15th, 1944. By that time, my father was in forced labor. From 1942, Hungarian men, Jewish men, were taken into forced labor, and they were either helping on the front or working in mines or whatever was necessary to the war effort. So my father wasn't part of my life When the Germans came into Hungary, the first thing they did was Jews had to wear the yellow star, and Jews had to move into so-called Jew houses. Also, I was a second grade dropout because they closed the Jewish schools. They never finished second grade. There are a lot of children there, so my summer of 1944 was not that bad, except for the air raids, except for the times when the Aerocross militia, the Aerocross men were the Hungarian Nazis, came in to raid us and to pester us. The Aerocross, by that time, the members were either older men or teenagers. And I can't tell you which is the one that were more dangerous. The old man would beat you up. The teenagers just as soon shoot you. In the fall, the order came that all the Jews had to go into the ghetto. They took us to the brick factory. Now, brick factories were used all over the country as demarcation points. A brick factory has several sheds and outbuildings and barns, so it was easy to keep track of a very large number of people. Well, we were escorted into one of these barns. My mother looked around. She parked me in a corner, and she went over to a Hungarian policeman guarding the place, and she begged him to let us go. Well, of course, he did not let us go. However, we were in the brick factory for a week. Every morning, he would come, and he would escort us to another shed. And then we would find out that the shed we were at before had been emptied out and people were taken away. So after a week, we were still in the brick factory. He actually saved our life. I don't know why he did that. My mother had no money to give him. You know, and you survivors will agree with me, during the Shoah, there were angels around us. And we didn't know who they were, and we didn't know when they would appear. But this policeman must have been one of them. My mother was taken from the brick factory to the Nazi headquarters, to the Aerocross headquarters. With other women, they were taken down to the basement, lined up, and the Aerocross men started shooting them row by row. Before they got to my mother, a German officer came in and stopped the killing and ordered the women to let go. Again, there's no explanation. You don't know why things happened. It happened. Well, in December, the Aerocross men came and took the young women from the apartment, my aunt among them. They didn't take my mother because we had a shtick. Whenever we heard them coming, she would lie down in bed that she was sick, and I was her caregiver. And when the Aerocross man came into where we were, I was just about to handing her a glass of water. And we were lucky, it worked. Usually they shot the sick people in bed, but for some reason we got lucky. So they didn't take my mother. My aunt ended up in Bergen-Belsen, but fortunately she survived. 430,000 people were killed in Hungary, 2/3 of the Hungarian Jews.
Uplift our lives, restore the world, peace for all, tikkun olam, uplift our lives, restore the world, comfort for all, tikkun olam, tikkun
And they will be accompanied by Judith Evan Goldstein, who is playing the theme from Schindler's List. Page 840. Yisgadal,
Auschwitz,
Yiskadash,
Lodz,
Shemei Rabbah,
Ponar,
Bialma Divrach Yerusei,
Babior,
Biamlich Malchusei,
Maidanek,
B'chayechon of Yom Echon,
Birkenau,
Uvchayedechol Beis Yisroel,
Kovno,
Bagalov Isman Kariv,
Yanovsko,
V'yimru Amen, Yehei Shmei Rabba Mavora, Liola Miome Omaya, Yisporach V'yishtabach,
Theresienstadt,
V'yispoar V'yisromam,
Buchenwald,
V'yisnaseh V'yisadar,
Treblinka,
V'yisalev V'yisalal,
Vilna,
Shemei Dekudisha,
Bergen-Belsen,
Brichu Le'ela,
Mauthausen,
Min Kol Berchasa V'shirasa,
Dachau,
Tushbechasa V'nechemasa,
Minsk,
Damiran Bialma,
Warsaw,
V'yimru Amen. Together, Yehei Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu, Kol Yisroel V'yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisroel V'yimru Amen. You may be seated.
I am just so moved by the program today and so honored to be here with all of you. Last year, I told you how grateful I was that no one in my family had lost anyone in the Shoah. I was third-generation American. Yet, World War II affected my family when my 19-year-old Uncle Jack was killed in Normandy. I remember hugging my grandmother as she wept. I remember that the blue star in our window was changed to gold. Those of you that know me, that from the time I moved to Florida in 2000, I have been dedicated to seeing that the history and fate of the Jewish people in Europe was not only remembered, but also studied as the gateway to knowing what can happen when twisted and insane leaders are chosen to rule. So how and when should the Holocaust be studied? We are fortunate that in Florida, these questions are readily answered because of the Florida Statute 1003. It explicitly states that the systematic annihilation of European Jews and other groups should be taught
to avoid prejudice, racism, and stereotypes, and encourage tolerance of diversity. And this will astonish all of you, because it just astonishes me, that Carolyn Mahoney, Congresswoman from New York, has created legislation that will give teachers across the United States the resources and training they need to teach our children the important lessons of the Holocaust and the consequences of intolerance and hate. I couldn't believe how much this mirrors the mandate here in Florida. There are 8 states that have laws to teach the Holocaust. Imagine if this legislation is approved. I'm very excited about that. And that's hopeful. And there's also the hope that is personified by Norman, Zelda, Frida, Pierre, Judith, and Mary, and all the other members of child survivors, hidden children, who give their time and represent those who can no longer speak. May their health and stamina endure for many years to come, because nothing is more meaningful than the stories they share with teachers and students. I believe that Yom HaShoah is no longer just a date on the calendar. It has become far more significant year after year, and I would hope that observances like this will be held not just in synagogues, but in the greater community as well. Thank you so very much for allowing me to share this day with you. I am truly moved.
So as a young Jew, I was asked to speak about the future and my hopes for it. As I expounded upon this point, I found myself drawn to the past. The covenant, our Torah, the miracles of old. Through our history, we've seen empires rise and fall. We've seen people prosper and disappear from the earth. And through it all, we, the Jewish people, have endured. With God's help and through our sheer will, we are here today. Because of this, I can stand here as a Jewish man, and I know that it's my job to ensure that my children and all children have the same opportunities to be bar mitzvahed and to practice and openly practice their Judaism, to ensure the survival of our people and traditions. It's something as simple as teaching mitzvah, being kind to strangers, reading biblical stories to your children at night. This is something that all of us can do. The future is bright for us, and it's up to us, every Jew, young and old, to be a positive part of that future.
The Jewish people have never had it easy. There have always been hardships, always conflict. We have been targeted time and time again. We had nothing and were on the verge of extinction. Hope was disappearing and spirits were being broken. But faith had not died. Faith was what we had. It was what we started with, and it is always with us, always has been. God is always with us. And with his help, we survived, and we continue to survive. Our achievements, our hard work, our faith, our determination to survive in this world as a people is incredible and goes to prove that we are here and we will be here, overcoming all the obstacles put in front of us with perseverance, strength, and a lot of faith. I could not be prouder to carry our rich tradition with me every day and carry with me God's lessons and teachings everywhere I go. This culture is beautiful, and no words can describe my love for Judaism.
participate. We thank you very much. We also want to thank everybody who came today. It is very meaningful for us. It is important for everybody to know that it is important for us to remember, to never forget, and always to remember what took place. And God willing, we wish the best of health to all our survivors this coming year as well. We're going to conclude now with the partisan song, the Anthem of the Holocaust Survivors, which will be accompanied by our chazan singing it, by Judith Evan Goldstein, and you can follow it on page 5 in your programs.
And sing with us if you want to.
Right. If you like, kindly rise.
Willkommen wird noch unser ausgewähltes Schaf. Es wird abhängt und unser Trockner seinen da. Willkommen wird noch unser ausgewähltes Schaf. Es wird abhängt und unser Trockner seinen da. You must not say that you'll walk the final way, because the darkened heavens hide the blue of day. The time we long for will at last draw near, and our steps as drums will sound that we are here. The time we long for will at last draw near, and our steps as drums will sound that we are here. Sonne came while aus der Gesten letzten Weg, von Himmeln kleine verstehen Gleiche. Willkommen wird nach unser ausgewähltes Schaf. Es wird erläutern unser Trockner sind da. Willkommen wird nach unser ausgewähltes Schaf. Es wird erläutern unser Trockner in seinen da.
Thank you, Chazan. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Judith. Thank you, everybody, once again, who participated. Thank you all for being here and making this occasion such a meaningful and heartwarming and inspiring one. Have a great day. Never forget.